Many people weren't too happy with YouTube's redesign, and my redesign that I did a week ago wasn't really a redesign, it was more of a touch-up of what they did. So I decided to take it one step further and redesign the desktop version of YouTube, but this time without too many constraints. So the idea is to basically push it the way that I believe would be better for the platform, and obviously there's absolutely no research going into it, so this is just my hunch of what I think would work better. Normally you don't design that way, but this is more of a fun exercise. So let's explore how I would reimagine YouTube on the desktop. I'm gonna speed through that redesign. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is to create the actual video, because this is the important part. And the main difference here is that I'm gonna make the progress bar thicker. So yeah, it's a lot better. Now adding that little gradient at the bottom so the icons are visible, aligning it a little bit better, and now pasting in the icons that I already prepared. And yes, there's gonna be a little bit of roundness to the icons, just a tiny bit. And I'm making those little squares so the icons are actually proportionally aligned, because the ones on the actual YouTube side aren't. And just to make it a little bit different, I pasted in an ASCII arrow. Now I'm using 16 squares to align everything in the middle of their individual boxes. Now I can hide the helper squares, and as you can see, it's already looking cleaner. So now let's recreate these icons here. And some of them I don't have, so I'm just gonna have to draw them myself out of some pretty simple shapes. The CC icon is just a rounded rectangle with CC in the middle and subtracted the shape. But this icon here is actually pretty odd, because that's the only icon in the set on the actual YouTube side that has a shadow and two different colors, or actually three different colors. So I made it simpler and I made it a single color to match the rest of the icons. And now just making the final icons here on the bar, and I want them all to be consistent. So a little bit rounded and basically looking like they're from the same set, because the current ones are a little bit weird, a little bit off. So yeah, I think mine are better. And using that same square technique to paste the little helper squares in the back and then align the icons so they're proportionally spaced. And that's one problem that I see on many different websites, that there are no proportions in the spacing. Now let's create the top bar above everything. So yeah, just creating a rectangle, filling it with the same color, and I'm gonna create the hamburger menu, but in this case I believe that it was a little bit too thin compared to the other icons. And using Roboto here, just don't have that font that is in the actual YouTube, so just pasting in my avatar and a couple of other icons over here. Simply add a plus, then subtract it from the shape, and I have this icon that is also filled and it's matching that little better. Now this is just a simple shape transformation, so just a rectangle with two rounded corners and then some little tweaks here and there, and yeah, this icon is also created. So what we want to do here is to create that search, but I'm not a fan of how YouTube did it with that rounded search bar. So I'm just gonna create a new bar that's more like the material design one, and it's not gonna be as long. It's just gonna be a rectangle like this with a little line underneath, like in material design, because we should be consistent. If it's YouTube by Google and they made material design, then I think it all should kind of, look like it's coming from the same design system. Okay, this blue thing here is a playlist, and I don't really like the fact that it's blue, so I'm gonna actually create it into a clickable button, because obviously you might want to click into the playlist and see more of the videos. Now let's make the title bigger and make the avatar bigger as well. Just kind of type in all that stuff here. And I'm gonna actually pick the same fonts, but the difference is that I'm gonna go with a rounded rectangle instead of a circle, because I think that those fully rounded buttons here don't look too good. So yeah, join and subscribe. Join is gonna be in that color, but then subscribe is gonna be YouTube red. So just trying to align everything, adding a little bit of spacing, and I missed the subscribe height, but I'm gonna move it down into the proper position in a minute. For now, I'm just focusing on the white space, and then for now also, I'm just gonna simply duplicate the buttons here to cover these elements. As for the description, I really don't like that gray rounded rectangle. I think it should be just cleaner and simpler. So I'm typing in the description that I have and making it left align, obviously a little bit bigger font, and just kind of gonna place it down there. But first let's create the comments header and the sort by icon. Okay, now we can just move everything down a little bit, increase the line height, and yeah, add the read more button, and it's already looking a lot cleaner, doesn't it? And we can actually add that it's in the playlist, and maybe let's add another playlist, and that way everything is going to be a little bit more consistent over here. And we don't want the text to be super wide because it's not gonna be easy to read, so it's completely fine to have some space on the side. Now duplicating that search bar, because this is going to be our add a new comment input. Let's add a little comment icon there, and let's add an avatar of some person that is currently logged in and adding the comment. I'm not a fan of super wide layouts like this, but obviously we have to cater to bigger screens, and at the end of this I'm gonna show you what a typical width of the screen YouTube display would be with 2 columns underneath here. So for now, just adding a couple more commenters, just simply modifying the texts and just kind of adding all the necessary icons and metadata. And looking at the current YouTube, those icons, those thumbs up and down and the heart are completely mismatched, different sizes, so yeah, I don't really like that. Basically the heart is only for me as the creator here, so I'm just adding the thumbs up, thumbs down and a reply link, just like that. And just kind of now adding the missing buttons over here, and I'm keeping the dislike obviously. Now I don't want that sharp share icon as well, because I don't believe in those super sharp icons for YouTube, so just kind of gonna create a couple of icons really quickly here. Yeah, this is fitting a lot better. Now for the save, it's just gonna be a rectangle with a plus, and then for this I'm gonna make an arrow and a line and a couple of tweaks. I sometimes kind of can't decide what I really want, but after a couple of tweaks we have all the buttons ready. As you can see, I indented the comments a little bit because this is a subsection that's kind of belonging to the video itself, and I think that might make it a little bit easier to read. But I'm still not a fan of those super long fields. Okay, let's create the related videos header here. So I'm just gonna make it the exact same way. The main difference is that I'm gonna make a lighter rectangle for the actual arrow, because this is closer to us, so it only makes sense that it's lighter. So yeah, adding the arrow, making it a little bit smaller, positioning it in place, and yeah, it's looking good. Now let's add some videos, and I have my own thumbnails here, so just gonna quickly write in some imaginary video titles and some metadata and kind of paste everything here with a couple of small alignments, and then add the timestamps. And no, I'm not making those rectangles rounded like they are on the current YouTube. I think this is a bad idea because videos shouldn't be rounded, and in many cases it can actually cut off an important part of the thumbnail. Now for the part that many people hate, which is that blurred video part in the background. So I'm gonna make this blurred video part and then add a couple of blurry shadows at the bottom to hide it. Then of course this little part that they are so proud of here at the bottom. But what I'm gonna do here is add an overlay that's making it basically barely visible. And now we can also move the entire header a little bit higher. That gives us a lot more white space, and now we can move the whole sidebar up. And yeah, that's looking a lot better. And now having some extra space, I can actually make the title of the video even bigger. And yeah, just kind of bring those closer together so more is visible. Okay, and now I'm making a narrower screen copy, which basically will mean that everything is going to be a full screen video, because I think that the comments and related videos could be in 2 columns like that. That will make the comments a lot easier to read because they're not as wide. And at the very last step, I'm gonna fix that subscribe button because that's been driving me crazy that I missed that. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments, and as always, have a beautiful day.